It's a hot morning, kind of. It's actually it's about noon already, or after. I don't know what happened in the morning. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some eggs, and I'm going to add in some greens, and I wanted to take you on my walk. I want you to see my ginger and turmeric table. So here is my table I have officially set up. See, that's what I talk about microclimates. I've tried different things here. I tried lettuce. That bolted. And I was trying just different plants. But you know what? The turmeric and the ginger love this table. And turmeric and ginger, being a tubular? How do you pronounce that? Growing out of tubes, bulbs. Whatever, it's been a long day already. They really like being combined. So putting them in these pots have worked out fantastic. And I really like doing that. And what I was doing here was double duty. This is my stevia that grows. That's that one little tiny pot I picked up at the store, and it just spread and took off. It was a whole bunch of tiny little plants inside. But look at this. I'm hoping this will make it. It might be, the wrong time of the year to try to grow this. But this is dill. The dill went to seed, and for me to protect it, I had a little container over it, and now I took it off yesterday, and the ones around it still made it, and the ones underneath, there's a whole lot more than the ones that were around it. That's because insects and, well, even birds will come and pick out that. So hopefully I get some dill. I know when it gets hot it bolts, but I need some dill because all my dill is bolting, and I want to make more zucchini pickles, my sour pickles, and I'm using cucumbers. I'm growing so many cucumbers. Anyways, all I'm doing is taking you on a walk while I pick a few greens to throw into some eggs and get my day going. I don't know what happened in the morning. It was like, it was 7 in the morning and all of a sudden it was noon. Anyways, let's go for my walk in the garden, and I'll tell you all my mistakes I've made too. Okay, now we're walking through my garden. Oh, look at this. Been keeping that covered. That is a squash plant coming up, but what's growing around it is my popolo. That seems to really like it when it gets warm. So this is good because I covered the popolo with that trash can, and now it's got a good start. Once they get these leaves, the animals and the insects don't seem to really like it. Let's get this one propped. Uh-oh. Something chewed that off or somewhere. Anyways, that's perfect for my compost tea. Okay, so that's doing really good. And there's my compost tea. I try to set up these little stations around. Have got water in there. It'll stink in a day or two. And I can just fill it up with more water and then just pick up the black tub and dump it around. Oh, a few of you have asked me where I get these tubs from. I know, I think I put up a link of the ones you can get at online, or you can go to Home Depot and Lowe's. They carry them. But generally, those do have holes. These don't. I'm still searching for a good source. My source are florists. If you know a florist, you can go to them and ask them. It's got to be cheap because this is disposable for them. And yet, I've had them for years now in my garden. The florists have to put their flowers in it, and that's why they cannot have holes, because their flowers are soaking in there. So go to your local florist, or have somebody go there, or call them and say, hey, how would I get about 10 of these tubs? They've got to be like $1 to $2 a piece, but I made friends with one, and so they've been giving them to me because they throw them out. All right, now I'm on my way through my garden. Look how cute. I put these on top so I don't poke my eye out, and if I bend down to get something. Actually, my dad hurt himself on a rebar once in the yard, and it taught me to never have stakes sticking out of the ground without something covered. All right, I got to get some seed in there for the birds. And let's walk through. I got to figure out what greens to make. And, don't worry about it if the birds ate some of it. That's still perfect for breakfast for me. Wash it. That means it's organic. There are places I heard that Asians will only buy from the grocery store when they see it's got holes in it. They'll pay more. This is what I heard, because they know it's organic. Can you imagine I brought stuff home that some of my animals won't eat from the grocery store? Isn't that scary? You'll hand them something and they won't eat it. Had a turtle, wouldn't eat it from the grocery store. All right, let's see, going through My sorrel needs to be cleaned up a little bit, but those are always perfect to add into my eggs. I'm going to grab a couple leaves of sorrel. Oh, walking onion. Nah, I think I'll skip the walking onion. The problem is when I put the onions into our eggs in the morning, it's supposed to be morning, I can't share it with the dogs, so I'll skip the onions today, otherwise Kitty will be really mad. And if I'm successful, I have come up with a great idea on how to make one of these for next to nothing. It'll be very similar to this. So keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully I'm successful. And if I get a chance, I'll do it today. Let's see. You know what? Oh, look at the eggplant. Oh, by the way, I didn't have my camera with me. But see how the eggplant's being eaten? The rabbits have been coming in and they've been eating it, which is fantastic because I'm not going to eat this. When it turns yellow like that, it has that strong smell and it will taste as bad as it smells. But they love it. It's giving them water and they're leaving everything else around it alone. So they're eating it. And as soon as it gets this bad, like let's say this one, see that? I can throw that in a bucket. I'm getting ready to plant in there. And they've already torn it down for me and it's starting to decay. So they did the job for me and I don't have to cut up all that eggplant. So I left it for the rabbits. Let's see, I think I could take some purple basil. This is growing in my tower. Let's do this without getting stung by a bee. And let's see. That's my tower. It really needs to be cleaned up. A lot of it is brown from the heat. But you know, you're going to expect that. Look what the birds have done to my kale. They sit here and they eat the tops out, then the leaves grow out, and they look terrible. Once the hillsides get their normal food growing again, they'll leave it alone, so no biggie. And look at the papayas in here. Can you see these? I hope you can. You probably can't with this camera I'm using. Look how big they are. These things are like 5-6 inches tall. I'm an animal lover, and I've been spreading my animal love to the plants, which is not good because I have a problem killing them and chopping them in the ground. Okay, let's see, this is my moringa. Oh, I definitely want to add moringa in to my food. I'm being bothered by those fruit beetles. I don't like fruit beetles. You know that video I've got where I'm running and screaming? Oh my God, it's in my hair! That was no joke. It actually did get caught in my hair twice. I've had it. So I didn't, a lot of that wasn't planned. It was not like a goofy thing. It was actually on my camera and I was screaming. All right, let's see, I've got stuff growing in there. I didn't plant anything in there yet. I think I'm good here. Gary told me there's pods. And why do I not see the pods? Okay, that's what happens to you. Oh look, there's my pods. Look at that. Have to be careful, there's a bumblebee. Look at the pod. Can you see the pod here? It's just starting. They're green right now. See here. Okay, that's the pod starting on my moringa tree. Now, you can eat them like green beans, I was told. But I think I'm going to leave them. Here's another one. Look how beautiful. I didn't even see them. Gary said, did you do a video on your pods? And I said, what pods? I got green beans all over the yard growing. He said, no, your pods. They'll get bigger and then the seeds will form, but if you wanted to eat them in a stir fry or whatever way now, you could pick them. I'm going to leave them right now. All right. Oh, powdery mildew. Who did that? Me? Because I went through quickly and I hosed it off and it got all those leaves wet. And now it got powdery mildew. All I need to do, the plant is fine. Look how beautiful it is. All I need to do is cut the leaves off. I'm not worried about that. I don't know. I'm going to tell you guys, when you go to plant something, you probably are better than me. You should write it down. Have a little book somewhere. I've got a book actually sitting in a mailbox that I bought at the thrift store and set up with a pen and paper. And I never walk over there and write it down. But I stick in these seeds periodically as I'm walking around. And I go, oh, I'll remember. The next day I forgot. So that's either cucumber or melon. And it's already left. So whatever it turns out to be will be fine. But I forgot. I put it in there and I forgot. And look at this. This is my tower that grows strawberries. I take tomatoes sometimes and I squish them. And there's no strawberry in here. And look at all the baby seedlings. Now, if I wanted to plant any of these tomato plants, I have to get them out, because when you have them that crowded, they'll stay like that. Eventually, a lot of them will stress out and die, or the strongest will survive and they'll all die. So either way, really the best thing, if I was going to move them, was to do it now. And that. So I told you in a video that my tomato plant that was on this fence died because it was old. I didn't lie. I didn't know. The tomato plant was growing in this plastic pot down here, and I think you can see it there. And I realized a couple days ago, I come over here watering, and this time I spent a little extra time in this little corner here, and realized that I had put some native soil, which is our clay, in there. Had I had just wood chips and compost in there, it would have been fine. But there was native soil. This pot was set up years ago, literally years ago, like 2-3 years ago, 3 years at the most, because my garden's not that old. And it got caked up, and I didn't realize, had I stuck my finger in it, I would have known, but because I saw the water was going so slow, I checked it out, and it wasn't draining. So what actually happened to this tomato plant that this cucumber is now growing on is I drowned it. It literally, the roots rotted and drowned because it is not a water plant. Had it been a water plant, would have loved it, but it wasn't a water plant. So it's draining now. You can see what I actually did was I took my cutters that I cut vegetables off with, and I just stabbed the side of the plant because it's an old pot. And now it is draining. So I might throw some compost in there and start a new tomato plant. But it didn't die from old age. And that's why I couldn't understand it was doing so good, and then it just died. It died because I goofed. I didn't check the pot it was growing in, and the pot was waterlogged. So if you have a problem with a plant and doesn't look good, kind of check out that, because sometimes it's not what you think. It's not, it's too much water. And that is a pot that you would just buy with the normal little holes on the bottom. And I didn't check it. And like I said, in the beginning, when I started setting up my yard, I was using a lot of native soil. This was before I was composting in place, because I don't do it that way anymore. And so that one, just the bottom holes just caked up, and it just became like an aquarium, just holding water in there. So plants won't grow that way. Mint doesn't seem to mind it too much, and certain plants don't mind it. Watercress wouldn't mind it. But when it comes to any other vegetable plant, it's got to drain. So that's my mistake. Learn by my mistake. Check your pot if your plant doesn't look good, because it may not be too dry. It might be waterlogged. There's a difference between being wet and draining. That tends to not hurt them at all. But when you have it where it's not draining, yep, you'll lose it, because it will literally rot out. It rots out their roots and even the microbes that you want for these plants. They're not water microbes. They don't want those, and your earthworms cannot live in water. Normally, they'll gravitate to the top if it's too wet, and then as the pot dries, they'll go back down. But there was no place to go down. All they could do was leave, so the earthworms left, and I lost my tomato plant. Oh well, I'll just plant another one. But it's a good lesson. So if you don't like the way something looks, check it out. Because I did that to a collard on the other side of the yard. I'll take you over there. Same thing happened. The collard started dying, and I checked same type of pot, almost. Checked the pot, again an old pot I had set up, and it was waterlogged. Okay, let's look over here. This is an old tub I picked up from the trash. This is stupid, but this is how cheap I am. I think I'm going to strap it with a piece of wire, and it's split all the way down, and I'm going to actually compost in place right now in it and use it. I just have to get a long enough wire to go all the way around. I think I'm going to use that now, because I have a corner over here that my Swiss chard went to seed and it completely died out, and I've got this spare corner next to my Moringa tree, and that will be perfect. So I may use that one here, or I might move it somewhere else, or I might use this black one. I'm not sure. Let's see, what else is going on down here? Nothing. Let's walk over here. So that's the tomato plant growing on the dead, I'm sorry, see the tomato plant? That's the tomato plant where the cucumber is now growing on the dead tomato plant that I didn't realize drowned. My bad. Oh, well. Well, the cucumber's got a place to grow now. It would have grown even with the live tomato plant. They would have grown in harmony together. It would have been really cool. But I got a new tomato plant already in here. And Well, hopefully they'll all grow together and we'll see how this goes. This has been really great. It's amazing how many cucumbers I got so fast in a matter of a few weeks. And there's more in there, see? I picked all the big ones, so I say, and then I can be standing here and find another big one because I picked a bunch yesterday. Now these are all baby little cucumbers. But they hide, they blend in, and no joke, you don't even know that there's a cucumber there, and all of a sudden you go there and you find this big cucumber that should, oh, it's there, look here. With me, look at this. I did not see that, and here I picked all the cucumbers yesterday. Look at that. I didn't see that. Now I'm picking by hand right now, so I'm not going to take this off because the cucumber really does need to be trimmed off because it's such a, you know, delicate vine. If I broke that vine, that would be the end of the top of the vine. It would probably shoot off from the side, but I have no reason to try to break it off. I'll come back with my cutters. This is no joke. Live. Oh no. Wait a minute. Oh my. You know, you think this is a setup. I'm telling you it's not. See, now this could kill the plant. So I am going to have to come back pretty quick and get this cut off. I did not see this either. Look how big that is. These are supposed to be small pickling cucumbers, so this one's going to be full of seeds. I can still pickle with it. I didn't even know that was there. You look and look and look and look, and you miss it. All right. I'll get that off right away today. I will still be using it, whether I make a salad out of it. Gary loves the salad I make. Or I'll pickle it. And if the seeds are big enough, I might keep some of the seeds because this plant loves it here. So I may try it. You know, the plant is bought from a store, so hopefully they didn't do anything to it where I can grow it. Sometimes you buy, I bought cucumbers, I'm sorry, not cucumbers. I bought cantaloupe once, and I think last year, and I planted it, and they were not cantaloupe when they grew. So they were probably GMO'd up, so it didn't even grow right, and it all got composted, and that's the end of that. But I could try it. I'll see. Yes, we had one tomato hornworm. I found him yesterday. We have the birds, but they missed it. And they do miss him once in a while. But thank goodness, you know, it's only once in a while. Otherwise, look at the tomato plant, it's fine. But I found him up there, so he was hiding really good. Another cucumber. Are you kidding me? I went through this last night. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Anyways, well, that's my morning walk. Gary is waiting for me to go do greens. Please learn by my mistakes. I have learned a lot of stuff by other people's mistakes. And, you know, like here, my dad bending down on a piece of rebar and cutting his eyebrow open. I learned never bend down when you cannot see. He did that at night. My aunt, who was walking down a hallway and tripped over her big black dog at the time, she said it was at night. Now I turn on the light no matter what. Even if I think there's no dogs there, I still turn on the light. So there's a lot of things you learn from people by their mistakes. So learn by my mistakes. See, here's the pot here. I had a beautiful collard growing in that pot. See the gray one? Let me see if I can get it down and show you. See this? It was growing in the pot about 3 days ago, and it started to die, and I came out here and I couldn't figure out why it was dying. It was getting plenty of water. Yeah, it was. Gary put a hole in there for me. See the hole down there? I don't know if you can see it down there. It filled with water. It became bog, and collard doesn't want it that wet. They want it wet. They do like water, but they want to make sure it drains. So that one too, that's a plastic pot. It's not one of the florist pots. I haven't had any problems with the florist pots. But it's one of those pots just, you know, that you would put in the house, and I probably had the whole thing on the bottom filled with native soil, so the clay just caked up and it became an aquarium. This one's falling apart. Had it fallen apart, it wouldn't have been bad. That one we're chopping apart because I think I'm going to leave the papaya tree here. I know it's not a tree, but that's what I call them. And let this thing get big here. Hopefully it won't be in my way. I'm trying to figure out what to do with all the other papayas growing. Okay, well, I think I've got almost enough. I'm going to grab a couple more things for breakfast and go put breakfast together. And I thought I'd take you with me and show you my mistakes and things I've done wrong. Because that's how you're going to all learn. You're going to learn by my mistakes. You're going to learn by your mistakes. And that's how we learn. You know, and they call it, what? Practicing medicine for doctors. They're practicing medicine. Why are they practicing? Because things change and they learn things. Well, we're all practicing gardeners because things change. I heard somebody say something interesting. Make a logbook, this person said. Make a log of all your plants and go by the book. So 20 years later, if you're still in the same place, you'll know how to plant your plants. Well, that wouldn't work here for me. When I moved here over 20 years ago, the weather was not what it is now. It was much colder in the winter, and it was different. And we've been having warmer winters. So you can't always go by what worked before. The only thing you do want to go by is what plants are successful for you now. And that's why I'm really big into plants that are not GMO'd seeds, plants that you buy that are good heirloom plants. You can keep those seeds because that's why my celery grows. Look at the celery here. I bought this on eBay, this celery, from a girl, she's down south of California, and she said, once you plant it, you will never need to plant it again. And she was not kidding. These are millions of little seeds that will be blowing all over, and I have celery growing everywhere. No joke. And that's okay. If I leave it alone, it will just eventually die if it's in a bad place. Sometimes it grows between bricks and stuff. Or I move it where I want, or I collect the celery. You know how much celery seed is that you buy in the store to cook with? So, and then again behind me, look at this. That's all celery seed growing with my lemon verbena. So what you want to do is collect the seeds that are plants that are doing really, really well in your garden. We have our green Swiss chard does really well, the red Swiss chard, the celery seeds, even tomatoes. That big thing of tomatoes back there that I strung up with all that masking tape, I didn't plant that. It came off another plant. The tomato rotted in the ground. I think it's two plants there, a small tomato and a big tomato, and it's growing the most beautiful tomatoes. So these are plants that are used to your garden. And as things change because of microclimates or the weather itself, you may have to try different plants. But in general, most of these plants will go for years. As far as my dinosaur kale field here, that's nothing. You can break a piece off, stick it in a pot, and put it off to the side. Oh, I have so many different things I do. And you can just plant it, give it away, do what you want with it. I love to layer. And like here, once these take off, I'm going to set some small pots around it because the pots will feed off what's growing there as far as the soil and the microbes. And you could just take a little tiny flower pot with some, any type of soil you want to put in there. You can stuff some leaves in there too on the bottom. I always stuff leaves on all the bottom of my pots. Browning leaves, green leaves, any leaves, because that will break down and bring more microbes and earthworms and stuff. But while your little pot is sitting there, and I don't know if I've got an example right next to me, I don't. But while it's sitting there, it will be growing. And then you can just pick up the pot and move it wherever you want. Well, anyways, Gary's waiting for breakfast at lunchtime. And, let's go pick this over here. Because the birds have done a real job to all this here, but not this one. So we'll have some of these today. Let them finish picking the ones they're eating. Pick that. Let's see what's over here. I'll pick from this. Okay, I am leaning in my cactus, which is not a good thing, and that hurt. Ouch. Okay, I guess that's it. I might even take, since my purple broccoli hasn't sprouted yet, we can have a leaf from it. And I'll wash the leaf, chop it all up, and look at this. Look at this. Swiss chard. And what is that growing in? Do you see what? Oh, I dropped it. What's that Swiss chard growing in? A bird stand. That's an old wrought iron bird stand. And Gary put a pipe in the middle, and then we stuck this tower up here. Okay, he's waiting. Oh, one more thing. Don't forget. We have to do a thing on mint. Gary decided he changed his mind as to what mint tea he likes the best. But as far as mint works really good, the orange mint in eggs. So with that, have a great weekend, have a great day, and I'm going in to make breakfast. Bye-bye, everybody.
Don't forget to eat. Don't forget And remember, don't forget to eat what you grow.